Hi guys, it's another time for Winn Dixie, my favorite children's author. Here's my favorite dog of all time. This is my dog Loki. And so apparently he wants to join us for story time. Oh, I hope he hangs in too long. It's a Shiba Inu, so, they kind of run the show. I am really glad you're here, so let's get going. We have just found out that Winn Dixie is afraid of thunderstorms. He goes crazy about that. I know Loki really doesn't care when there's a thunderstorm, but I know that Winn Dixie, it's a pretty big deal. But let's go to chapter 12. Me and Winn Dixie go to Gertrude's Pets so early for my first day of work that the closed sign, it was still up in the window. But when I pushed on the door, it swung open, and so we went on inside. I was about to call out to Otis that we were there, but then I heard music. It was really the prettiest music I had ever heard in my life. I looked around to see where it was coming from, and that's when I noticed that all the animals were out of their cages. There were rabbits and hamsters and gerbils and mice and birds and lizards and snakes, and they were all just sitting there on the floor like they had turned to stone. And Otis, he was standing in the middle of them. He was playing his guitar, and he had on his little skinny, pointy-toed cowboy boots, and he was tapping them while he was playing the music. His eyes were closed, and he was smiling. Winn Dixie got a dreamy kind of look in his eye. He smiled really hard at Otis, and then he sneezed, and then his whiskers went all fuzzy, and then he sighed and kind of dropped to the floor with all the other animals. Just then, Gertrude caught sight of Winn Dixie. "Dog!" she croaked, and flew over and landed right on his head. Otis looked up at me. He stopped playing his guitar, and the spell was broken. The rabbits started hopping, and the birds started flying, and the lizards started leaping, and the snakes started slithering, and Winn Dixie, started barking and chasing everything that was moving, and Otis started shouting, "Help me!" For what seemed like a long time, me and Otis ran around trying to catch mice and gerbils and hamsters and snakes and lizards. We kept on bumping into each other and tripping over animals, and Gertrude kept on screaming, "Dog! Dog!" Every time I caught something, I put it back in the first cage I saw. I didn't care if it was the right cage or not. I just put it in and I slammed the door. And the whole time I was chasing things, I was thinking that Otis must be some kind of a snake charmer, the way he could play his guitar and make all the animals turn to stone. And then I thought, this is silly. And I shouted over Winn Dixie's barking and Gertrude yelling. I said, "Otis, play some more music." He looked at me for a minute, and then he started playing his guitar, and in just a few seconds, everything was quiet. Winn Dixie was lying on the floor, blinking his eyes and smiling to himself and sneezing like every now and then. And the mice and the gerbils and the rabbits and the lizards, well, that we hadn't even caught yet, they got all quiet and just sat still. And so then I picked up them one by one and put them in their cages. When I was all done, Otis stopped playing. He looked down at his boots. "I was just playing them some music. It just kind of makes me happy." "Yes, sir, it does. Did they escape from their cages?" "No," said Otis. "I take them out. I feel sorry for them being locked up all the time. I know what it's like to be locked up." "You do?" "I've been in jail," Otis said, and he looked at me real quick, and then he looked back at his boots. "You have? Never mind. Aren't you here to sweep my floors?" "Yes, sir." He walked over to the counter and started digging through a pile of things, and finally he came up with the broom. "Here, you should start sweeping." Only he must have gotten confused. He was holding out his guitar to me instead of a broom. "With your guitar?" He blushed and handed me the broom, and then I started to work. I'm a good sweeper. I swept the whole store, and then I dusted some of the shelves. The whole time I worked, Winn Dixie followed me and Gertrude followed him, flying behind him and sitting on his head and saying, "Dog! Dog!" When I was done, Otis thanked me. I left Gertrude's Pets thinking about how the preacher probably wouldn't like it very much that I was working for a criminal. Sweetie Pie Thomas was waiting for me right out front. I seen that. I seen that. She stood there and sucked on her knuckle. Seen what? I seen all those animals out of their cages and they were keeping really still. Is that man magic? Kind of. She hugged Winn Dixie around the neck, just like a grocery store dog, right? She's just like, awesome. This grocery store dog. Right. I started walking and Sweetie Pie took her knuckle out of her mouth and put her hand in mine. Are you coming to my birthday party? I surely am. The theme is pink. I know it. I gotta go. I gotta go home and tell my mama about what I seen. I live right down there in that yellow house. That's my mama on the porch. You see her? She's waving at you. I waved at the woman on the porch and she waved back. And I watched Sweetie Pie run off to tell her mama about Otis being a magic man. And it made me think about my mama and how I wanted to tell her a story about Otis also, charming all those animals. I was collecting stories for my mama. I would also tell her about Miss Franny and the bear, and about meeting Gloria Dump, and believing for the first minute that she might have been a witch. I had a feeling that these were the kind of stories my mama would have liked. The kind that would make her laugh out loud, the way the preacher said she liked to laugh. You guys, when we get back together again, we'll be going to chapter 13. Have a great day. Get outside if you can.